Well, good morning, everyone. Well, good morning if you're on the West Coast like I am here. It's 9 a.m. Happy lunchtime if you're back east or wherever you are around the world. I am Colin West and I'm your host of ModGolf Live. Thank you for joining us here. So, today I have the pleasure of having one of our previous guests way back from our second season with the Mod Golf podcast. I just went back to listen to that previous episode, and that was in August of 2018. I can't believe it's been more than 6 years since I've had the pleasure to talk to our guest today. And that is Tami Fujii, who is the co founder and CEO of KINONA Sports, so a women's golf apparel brand, all the good things they're doing there. I've had the pleasure of seeing Tami every year at the PGA show in Orlando. And well, actually, that's not true. During COVID, obviously, we didn't get together then. But I reached out to Tami and said, you know what? It's been way too long since we've last spoke. We've got to get you on here on Mod Golf Live. And that's one of the things I love about Mod Golf Live, because we only have 24 episodes that we do of the Mod Golf podcast. We do two 12-episode seasons every single year. So there's not a lot of inventory of capacity to bring on people that I've had on before, or to bring on some of the new entrepreneurs that are just starting up, because we just don't have the capacity. So having Mod Golf Live, it gives me this opportunity to circle back with previous guests for a catch up like we're doing today, and also to bring on some awesome entrepreneurs that I've met that are just starting up in the golf industry, in the golf space. So as we get started here, we're going to do something I've done for the last little while here, and that is starting with my Monday morning musings, the things that I've seen, whether it's in golf or outside of golf here, or even just life in general, all the things that are going on here today. So, you know what? It has been a bit of I wouldn't say a slow week. Last week, I was very busy on the production side of Mod Golf. Not everybody, but people reach out and they think, and I take this as a compliment, they think we've got this mighty team of a dozen people cranking away here, but it's just little old me here, doing the things as a scrappy independent content creator. And sometimes I'm doing the unglamorous bit of myself going through a podcast episode and editing that. So I've got to listen to my own voice, probably more than I'd care to, and editing out all those ums and ahs and you knows. I call it Photoshop for my voice. So you all have the illusion that I actually can put a coherent sentence together. And it seems to be working so far that people think I actually speak with, I don't know, some authority in the space. But actually, all kidding aside, I do know now, and this is one of the great benefits of doing the Mod Golf podcast, almost 200 episodes in now, over 8 years. And that is, I've met these amazing people in the golf industry, and sometimes in other industries too, and talking about how it relates to golf. And Tami is no exception to that. So before I bring Tami on stage here, did want to mention that we've just launched season 16 of the Mod Golf podcast. And we've had 2 episodes so far, both of them with amazing women with completely different backgrounds. The first one, episode 1 that we had, and my background as an architect in sustainable design, bringing that into the golf space. This was an easy connection for me to make. And this was with Petra Himmel, who's out of Germany. So a golf journalist over 25 years, and she's transformed her career into the work that she does into sustainability in the golf industry, and what the future has and what lies there. And this conversation was awesome, because it's definitely not doom and gloom about everything that's wrong and where it's not going. This is, what are the solutions? How can the sustainability piece, not only for the environment, but how does that then strengthen the business and the revenue generating capability of golf courses? So it's not just about environmental sustainability, it's also about economic sustainability and growth. So that was a great episode too. So the other one, I think, when if Tami does not know this young woman who's based out of Hawaii on the Big Island, and that is Leua Wise, and she is the director of golf at Kohana Ike, a private community. And we just had this great conversation. And there's very few women across the over 15,000 golf courses, private and public, in the US and, well, in North America, that are the director of the golf programs. So we really talked about that, as far as we use this. I'll bring that back up again here. We talk about this concept of ikigai, this Japanese concept of, your vocation, your profession, your passion, and your mission. What are you good at? What do you love? What actually makes you money? And how those things all intersect together to create what's called your ikigai. Basically, your passion in French is called your raison d'être. So yeah, she's definitely found that. So we have this awesome conversation there with Leua. I strongly encourage you all to go back and listen to that one. The other thing I was going to mention here also, and that's some of the comments here, that since we are live here, I do encourage anyone that's watching here today, and I see we already have about half a dozen people that have joined us, so thanks for that. So hey, welcome. So while you're here, hey, please subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. That helps us grow. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, and I've been told that once we get to 1,000, that unlocks a little bit of monetization here. So any extra little bit of money that we can make here for ModGolf, that helps me cover my production costs here, including StreamYard, which we use for these live broadcasts, which I absolutely love. So yeah, if you like what you're seeing here, you enjoy the content, please subscribe. Show us some love here, and we'll try to show you some love back. So yeah, I'm Colin Weston. I'm joining you from Vancouver today. So yeah, I want to make this interactive. So yeah, introduce yourself. Let us know where you are from, and also ask Tami any questions you have as far as entrepreneurship, women's golf apparel, anything on your mind there that as we start to roll here. And the other piece also is, hey, if you like what you're doing, you want to connect with these awesome golf innovators and entrepreneurs, best way to do that is join our ModGolf Patreon community here. I'll include the link down below also for you for that. So you can join there, and you can also win awesome golf gear with our ModGolf giveaways. And who doesn't love to win free stuff? I know I do. So yeah, think about that. So, okay, enough of me rambling away here on a Monday morning. Now it's time for the full show, and that is, there she is, our guest, Tami Fujii, co-founder and CEO of KINONA. Tami, how you doing?
I'm good, Colin. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. So it's good to see you, my friend. Last time I saw you, as I mentioned, in January. I see you every year there, but we never get a chance to talk because you are so busy. There's so much energy and activity around the KINONA booth, which is a good thing, which is what you want, that there's no time for me to wedge myself in there and create some content. I managed to get you early in the morning to do that. So, gosh, I can't believe, like I said, I went back this morning, listened to our podcast from August 2018. And if we roll back the tape here, you had just mentioned off camera beforehand, you had just launched months before that. So you had just started. We managed to connect, right?
That's correct. We had launched in January of that same year of 2018, and then we met. Had the opportunity to meet you, and which was amazing. And yeah, so no, we were just getting our feet wet. Fair to say.
Yep. Love it. Love it. And at that time, I had both you and Diane Sulich. You're a very good friend and co-founder of KINONA. So we have that backstory. So I want to focus on everything that's happened in the last 6 years and what's going to go on in the future here. So I will include the link to that episode, because I really enjoyed it again, just listening to both of you and the energy there. And you still have that energy and that passion, and which is ups and downs and trials and tribulations as an early growth, small, independently owned company. Because as we talked about off camera, that 8 or 9 out of 10 startups and early growth companies in any sector, whether it's tech or apparel or whatever that is, sadly they fail in the first couple of years. And the two of you are still swinging away here. So let me start with, well, let's start with this. So people that out there that are not familiar with the KINONA brand, why don't you let everyone know your why, what you do, and why you do it?
Well, I think it's a great segue, and I did get a chance to listen to Lehua's podcast last week, which was great. And it's we've been Diane and I started the company actually in 2017. We came to market in 2018, and it was really kind of part of our ikigai. It was really part of our what we've something that we have always wanted to do. Was with our both of us had extensive, kind of corporate careers in apparel and working for big companies, and we were both golfers ourselves and had always wanted to start a women's golf apparel brand because it really came out of a need for not not being able to find what we were looking for in the market when we went out to play golf. And we would always tell ourselves, we can build a golf brand. We know how to do this. And so we decided to take a swing at it, to use your terminology. And yeah, in 2018 we launched. We launched both in our wholesale, selling to primarily private country clubs, and then we've also launched our website in 2018 as well. And kind of note to self, note to all the new entrepreneurs out there. I don't know if I would advise ever doing that again. It was, yeah, clear naivete that we decided to launch both channels literally on the same day. But be that as it may, yeah, we're still here today.
You are still here today. Well, I can empathize with looking back in the rearview mirror and going, should I really have done both of those things? I launched the ModGolf podcast in the exact same week that we also launched when I co-founded Startup Vancouver. So for us to, that's the nonprofit that we created to support the innovation community here in Vancouver as part of Startup Canada. So yes, looking back there is like, really? Two things at once? It's hard enough to start one thing. And so yes, I would never do that again, but you kind of have to do it to learn, but the hard way.
Right. Yes. What you don't know.
100%, 100%. Okay, so let's talk about your target market. I know I'm going to pull up the I'm going to add the stage here with your website here, and here, we'll just kind of roll down a little bit here, and I'll kind of keep it here for now. So why don't you tell us about, because you have more, you appeal to more than one type of woman. And what I mean by that is like whether it's kind of age demographics, like you seem to appeal to a lot of different demographics, but also you're very consistent with not only the aesthetic but also the messaging and even your culture. So tell us a little bit about the women that love to wear your apparel.
Yeah, so when Diane and I started the brand, and we were doing a lot of research and really trying to understand where was the market, who did we really want to appeal to, and where we saw the biggest need, frankly, was for this, I will call the slightly older women golfer. She's probably between the ages of, 40 to, I hate to even say that, but like 40 to 65 years old. And we felt like she was the one that wasn't really being served. She may like a little bit longer skirt. She may have, areas of her body she's not super proud of, that she wants to either, help to, kind of create some shape around,
Right.
or to help kind of, mask a little bit. And for those of you who don't know, Kinona means shape in Hawaiian. And so it was very clear to us as one of our value propositions that we wanted to make women of all shapes and sizes feel like they belonged into that sport, and that they belonged to be, that they were, that they were welcome into the sport. And so a lot of that is just being able to find clothing and product that you feel great in, and you feel, confident walking out on a golf course. We already know how intimidating the whole sport can be for any player of any skill level, but certainly for those women who may be just starting the sport. And so, we just wanted our clothing to be really something that they didn't really have to worry about, and that they felt really great, really helped to bolster their confidence. And so, a lot of the features that we built into the brand were really built around shape flattering features, and thus, the name of the brand. But, I will say that, over the years, since we've, now been in market for almost 7 years, that we've, learned a lot about her and that consumer. And, we feel like we've really were able to, help her meet those needs, higher waistbands to help kind of cover up your tummy a little bit.
Right.
Things that we have just built into with stretch and performance fabrics, but really doing it in a stylish and fashionable way. The customer has gotten younger, though. The golf consumer has definitely, gotten younger in age, which is fantastic. And we love having all these new women come into the sport. I think, for us, while we want to appeal to a younger audience, we also know that our core woman is still that, I'll say 35 to 65-year-old woman, because that's, who has a little bit more time, whose needs that we can probably meet, better than maybe the 18 or 22-year-old golfer.
Right, right. Well, as I just had your website up there, as I scroll down, you can see even the models that you have there, a little bit younger, very diverse uh,
Yes.
cross section, which is obviously very intentional there. So it seems like you're able to demonstrate with the kind of the aesthetic and the line of your apparel that it is for young women also. It's not just for older women. So you managed to cover that. So in a way, you answered my next question, and that I was going to ask what you have learned over the last 6 to 7 years, just as far as we talk about in the startup world, as far as pivoting or refining, and maybe your assumptions out of the gate in 2018 with your line, that it's evolved a bit over time. So it sounds like still kind of the mandate, or kind of the maybe the vision is the better way to look at it, as far as appealing to women uh, that are a little bit older that love to play golf, and listening to them and getting that feedback. So I want to hear this, because not everything works in entrepreneurship, whether it's whether you're in tech or whether it's a product, whatever that is, and your assumptions, and you think it's going to work and you think it's going to appeal. So can you, on that journey, can you give us at least one example of something that both you and Diane thought for sure this thing's going to be an absolute hit, people are going to love this, and then you kind of went, oh geez, well maybe that didn't quite resonate like we thought, and then we had to switch it up a bit. So do you have an example of that over the last 6 years or so?
Yeah, no, I do. And, again, you have to think, Colin, that we were, also doing this during the pandemic, right? And so, we have tried, entering into other kind of categories of product, as well, other than just golf. So we did, dip our toe into pickleball, which was great. I mean, we just came out with a really, really small, tight capsule collection. Just, we didn't want to make a huge, we didn't want to develop a bunch of styles. We really wanted to test the waters, and I will say, we are more of a premium brand. So our price points are going to be higher. And I think that that is probably one of the lessons that we've learned in trying to launch a pickleball portion of our collection was, that consumer doesn't necessarily have the same wants and needs and desires as our women golfer. And yes, she may
Right.
be playing both sports, and maybe playing them all in one day, but I think her needs are pretty different. And I think, she's okay wearing, things like leggings and t-shirts and tank tops and things that you probably wouldn't wear to a golf course to
Right.
play pickleball in. And she doesn't necessarily always want to pay, top dollar for her pickleball clothing either. So I think, that was definitely, I think, a lesson learned in terms of, giving it a chance, starting out small. The lesson here would be, you don't have to kind of go all in to learn a lesson and to do a test. And I think that that's really the beauty of having our own website, is that we can dip our toe out there, try a few styles, see if they work, and then pivot away from them quickly if they don't, or double down on them if they do. We have a fantastic manufacturing facility that we work with, that is able to turn pretty quickly. And so we don't have to, I'll say, overcommit on certain styles, because they're able to get us back into production pretty quickly if we want to. So, we've been very fortunate, I think, in that way.
Nice, nice. So I'm curious to hear this, because when you any company's starting up and then they get some early success and then they have to grow, and so that's exciting. But sometimes you maybe you don't have that experience to know where you need to grow first or bring more people on, and you kind of stumble over yourselves. So let us know, how big is your team right now, and how does that break out between the different roles that you have with Kinona?
Yeah, so we have it's a very, as you were saying, kind of as you opened up your podcast, we are like a mighty team of about 8 people. I say about because we have a couple part-time folks. Everybody works remote. We wear many, many hats. And so there's a our operations manager on our team and the head of customer service. I call her our Swiss Army knife because she
Right.
has got to do like so many different roles. And so she helps me manage our sales, our wholesale sales network, and, helps us with our customer service. And I will say that she had very little kind of professional customer service experience when she came on board over a couple of years ago, but she has completely like learned the game. And I mean, I'm so proud to say that a lot of the reviews that we get on our website are, in addition to, how great our product is how great and easy our customer service is to work with. And so, we're pretty, consumer facing in terms of wanting to make sure that we're satisfying the needs of our customers. And if something doesn't work out from, if it's the wrong size or doesn't fit right, we really try our hardest to quickly, remedy the issue. And Cindy does an amazing job at that. And so we just have a great nimble team that can wear many hats. And I can say the same. That's just an example, but we've got all of the folks that work on our team just have had to learn a lot of different things, as we all have.
Nice, nice. So we talked about this earlier too, the fact in the women's golf apparel market that it is very competitive. Sounds like there's a lot of new players, there's a lot of churn. Some people start and then kind of fall off very quickly. So you mentioned this that it seems to be getting more and more competitive. Some of these bigger brands like Lululemon are now entering the market, and of course, your marketing budget compared to theirs, you cannot compete with that. So tell us a bit about how you are then getting the word out that the differentiators that you have with Kinona of how you manage to appeal to maybe women that are just starting the game. So let's talk about that. Even at the 30,000-foot level, where do you see also where the trend is going, even coming out the other side of COVID? Is women's golf still growing? Has it flatlined? And where do you see that then translating into more women looking for apparel like yours?
Yeah, so certainly coming out of COVID, and it's no, I think surprise to anybody that golf exploded, whether it was for men or for women, the sport exploded, which was fantastic. I think, it was an unintended consequence of the pandemic. But we were able, I mean, we were nervous as a young company, certainly at that time, and we were kind of ourselves hunkering down to really weather that storm. But we started seeing our direct to consumer sales really start climbing and escalating as everybody was shopping from home and knowing that golf was a COVID friendly sport. And so we certainly saw the growth coming in to the sport that way. A lot of new golfers that came in, but predominantly women and younger younger players coming into the sport. I will say the growth on the women's side is still holding on, hanging on. I think the number of rounds that are being played out there is, I think, kind of starting to level off a little bit, but the growth is still really happening in women and youth in the sport. And so everybody got knows that now and got wind of it, including all of the big brands, all of the Lululemons and the Vioris and other brands that are much larger out there. Even a brand like Spanx, which a lot of women know from the shapewear world,
Right.
it entered the sport, or entered the category, pardon me, because they see the opportunity that is out there. So maybe they may not have super golf specific apparel, but they are certainly kind of attending all of the same, but they're making a mark within the pro shops, because I also think it's much more multi-purpose. So I think a lot of what this new wave of golfers have brought into the sport is, hey, I want to wear my, similar clothing that I wear for my lifestyle wardrobe out on the golf course. And so that is really probably the biggest shift and trend we have seen is, not super golfy looking clothes kind of coming onto the golf course, but women deciding to add their own sense of style and their own taste level to the game, and bringing it to the golf course. And if you are at a private club that has rules, I mean, as most private country clubs do, and around dress code, we're seeing a lot of that starting to shift as well, because I think the clubs also see that for them to become scalable and sustainable, that they need to address a lot of the younger members that are coming to the clubs. And so a lot of country clubs and my club, that my husband and I belong to included, they're saying if you make women's golf apparel, it's allowed on the golf course. So it's kind of opens the door for a lot of different brands to enter the market.
Right. And I guess that term, even listening to our previous podcast, the term athleisure, which
Right.
Lululemon was one of the ones. Hey, we got a friend there.
I do.
That Lululemon was one of the ones that kind of coined that phrase originally, and you've certainly kind of taken that to the next level. So I would be remiss not to comment on the piece that you're wearing. So I believe this is from your new collection. So you're our model today. So what are you wearing there?
Well, this is from our newest collection that will drop in November. So it's a little premature, but November, as we know, is not that far away, sadly. So this is part of our newest resort collection. So you'll see it certainly, not only on our website, but in a lot of your local clubs and resorts. Specifically, I'll say in the especially in the southern markets in Florida and Southern California, where we do where Kinona has a lot of fans and a lot of customers. But it's we have we call it, it's part of our poly collection. So it's a lot of light blues and different kind of color variations in blues. We've done some beautiful prints and pattern work, but just kind of bringing a little bit of life and light into the winter golf months. So we're super excited about the collection. It's gotten great feedback, and yeah, we've in fact, we hope to be able to bring it to our website, because we've kind of sold out a lot of it on for our wholesale customers that tend to book in advance with us. So
Oh, that
yeah, very exciting.
exciting stuff. So,
Yeah.
well, you should be the new model. You look fabulous. It looks like you have not missed an arm day there. It looks like you're looking great in that. Looking great. There we
Thank
go.
you. Thank you.
There we go. So I want to talk about myself being a designer, not an apparel designer, but in architecture and other areas. So being a bit of a design guy, I would love to hear about the design process, like even the piece you're wearing there. How do you and Diane in the design? Well, tell us about that. Do you have someone that's separate that is your designer that kind of sees the new collection? So I'm gonna pull the curtain back there. So how do you start maybe a year out and end up voila, what you're wearing there is the end result. So tell us about your design process.
Well, I wish it was just a year out,
Okay.
Colin, because
Well,
it
I
would
don't
make
know. So
that
there you
crystal
go.
ball a little bit clearer. But we start almost 18 months to 2 years out,
Okay.
because our fabric all comes from Italy, and there's just a big supply chain and lead time, issue that is, part of what we do. We're lucky. Our design team. Are folks that Diane and I have had the pleasure of working with for decades. So they were not new to us. But what I most appreciate about our design process is that it's not that different from, designing just a regular apparel collection. Our designer looks at the trends, looks what's trending in the market, from style to color to, trims and details. And he doesn't look at what's happening in the golf market. He looks at what's
Hmm.
happening in the entire women's apparel market and what's
Okay.
coming down the runway. And we try to translate those styles and make them super saleable, in our amazing fabrications, and bring those onto we like to say we go from the runway to the fairway. And so that's, but we definitely, make it functional. All of our fabrics are very technical, but the design process is highly collaborative, but we try not to, I'll say, hinder the design process by putting a lot of requirements around it, because we want, as an architect, that you want to see the vision of what our designer sees, and not do it with all these constraints kind of built in around it. So there's a lot of give and take, and um, lively conversations around, will that work, for our customer. And so Diane and I continue to this day to go to trunk shows, and to do our own trunk shows at the clubs, just so we can talk and see, and see what the product looks like on our customer. And it's just super important that we stay close to that, even though we're working 2 years out on design work. So
Interesting. I'm curious on the business side of this. I'm assuming that there's a finite number of pieces that you want to be carrying. You don't want to keep expanding and expanding. The next thing you know, you've got 150 or 200 pieces, which is financially not sustainable in shipping and all of that. So do you have to make some difficult decisions of saying, do you look at maybe the pieces from the previous season that have underperformed and the bottom ones kind of get relegated or cut out so that new ones can get added? So tell us about that. What kind of decisions do you have to make then that sometimes could be, I'm sure, very difficult, that you've got to cut some pieces and there's only so many that you can add? So talk about that, the business side of it a bit, please.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we call it, it's a very boring name of life cycle management. But it's a whole kind of cradle to grave process for us,
Hmm.
right? And so we definitely look at what the sales were for previous seasons. We have kind of what we call our core and carryover styles that are just our tried and true basics that we don't need to keep reinventing every season. So we make sure
Right.
we have a good foundation and good inventory level in that. But then we have to add the fashion and the style on top of it to keep us on brand and to deliver to our customer what she's always come to us for. So we make sure that
Oops, it looks like we lost Tami here. All right. Well, hopefully Tami joins us back here in a minute here. So I did have some more questions to ask her. In the meantime, while hopefully Tami rejoins us here, I don't know what happened to her connection there. Uh, Hey, I know we got half a dozen people that are watching right now. Actually, we do have one question over here. We do have Melissa. So unfortunately, Tammy's not with us at the moment, but hopefully she joins in a second here. So there we go. Oh, friends from Arizona there. Well, Melissa. Hey, Melissa, thank you for joining us today. Guess you're in Arizona, a little bit warmer than I am up here in Vancouver here today. So I'm just waiting for Tami to rejoin here. Hopefully she does. And if she does not, I guess we're going to be wrapping up our show for today. Tell you what, let me just quickly reach out to Tami here, see if she's able to join us. Okay. You know what? I've never had this happen before here with ModGolf Live here doing because I guess this is episode 16 that we've done here every single week. So yeah. Looks like we're having a difficult time having Tami rejoin. I don't know, maybe her phone died because I know she was on her phone. Oh, actually, she dropped off. Let's see if she pops back up here in a second here. So, Melissa, again, thank you for joining us. Melissa, maybe you can answer this in chat and keep the conversation going. Do you own any KINONA pieces here? Are you familiar with KINONA? Obviously, you like the piece that Tami was wearing there today. So yeah. Oh, she's back. There you go. So again, Melissa, don't think that now that Tami's back here that I need to that we're not going to have those questions answered here. So yeah, keep on rolling, keep answering the questions here. All right, let me get back going. Oh, I got to add her to the stage here. There she is. You're back.
sorry about that. It's what happens when a phone call comes in during a podcast. But yes,
I was going to say, it's like, where'd she go? It's like, did I offend you that badly? I don't think my questions were that mean, were they? What's going on? You're back. Okay.
Yes.
Well, hey, I did have a couple of questions here. Well, here, I don't know if you saw that here. So I don't know if you know Melissa in
I
Arizona
do.
or
Hi,
not.
Melissa. Thanks for joining.
There we go. So you are friends there. So awesome.
Yes.
Well, like I said, we want to keep this interactive. This is the great thing I love about ModGolf Live here is the people that join here. I do encourage, don't be shy. Ask a question or just a comment. Put something out there because with doing a podcast for almost 8 years now, it's not that real time back and forth. And I love this about ModGolf Live that we have this opportunity to have a conversation here. So I know we only have a couple more minutes here, but I did want to ask a couple more questions here, Tami. Hopefully you have the time with us here. The first one I want to ask is partnerships. My understanding is you have, I think, over 400 partners as far as retail outlets, some of them big, some of them small, private pro shops and golf courses. So let's talk about the power of partnerships for all entrepreneurs out there, people that are thinking about maybe they've got an idea, whether that's a product or whether that's a service. you cannot go alone. You have to have those partnerships and put them in place. I know some of them work out better than others that we'll talk about in a minute here, but let's stay positive with partnerships here. So talk about this over the 6-year journey, the partnerships that you've made, and maybe how those have been accelerated with the PGA show that you go to every single January. So talk about the power of partnerships with KINONA.
Yeah, I mean, we've been so fortunate that we've had such great partners, and a lot of them have been with us since the beginning. And a couple come to mind that were super instrumental, even when Diane and I first started. I mean, they took the time to um, help us really build the line and give us really honest feedback around our first collections. And they didn't know us, and they didn't owe us anything. I mean, but they were just super supportive of our mission and what we were setting out to do. So they took an hour of their day, and we brought our at the time I think we only had like design boards, and we had some of our fabrications, and they took the time to give us feedback, and we are forever grateful. I mean, we fortunately still have this partnership today, but without that, I think having that real-time feedback from industry experts, from the customer who knows their consumer, was invaluable. And we try to we will have, hits and misses along the way, and we've tried to be a good partner in return to them. So I think, I would say we've always been, tried to be really fair about, our relationships and what we want to do. And we understand it's a give and take. And so we try to help each other out. And I think that is probably the most heartening thing about being within the golf industry. It is, having come from more of a corporate apparel background, you don't necessarily see that anymore. And so being in, a little bit of a, I'll say a smaller industry, and working with, shop owners and buyers and, they're entrepreneurs themselves, to really help build the brand and build the line has been really gratifying.
Nice, nice. Well, you certainly have some fans out here because, as we can see here, Melissa obviously is a fan. She's she's definitely
There,
somebody you don't
yeah,
have to
she's
convince to buy
great.
any KINONA pieces there. So, on that note, with Melissa, are you finding that word of mouth, just as far as women are so much better of communicating than socializing than men are? We're not great, but the fact that they will tell all their friends, have you found that over time that you get a lot of inboard and purchases that are just because women love the brand and then they want their friends to share it too, like the Melissas of the world out there? Are you finding that?
For sure. I mean, I think that, and I don't know if it's necessarily, it's not even a spoken thing. It's sometimes just seeing the product on somebody. And
Right.
so many of our consumers will come up to us and say, I was on the golf course and this foursome of ladies like drove up and wanted to know where I got my outfit. I mean, that's really, I mean, complete strangers, right? And so, we get kind of everything from that to we love outfitting our customers, our ladies, for their member events, and when they want to dress in similar outfits, and we try to curate what that could look like for them. And so it's just really fun to see. We encourage everybody to send in their images on social media and just show us, like, how what you did for your member guest or your member event. And that's super gratifying for us. But I would tell you that it's not necessarily, word of mouth. It's a lot more visual. I think our product tends to be a little bit more recognizable because of the graphic nature of the design and the patterns and the prints, that a lot of people will kind of, come up to you. And I think that's all part of also kind of boosting confidence and kind of demystifying the sport that seems very standoffish or whatever. And for women, we just want to meet people and chat it up and share our experiences. And I think that is kind of gives you the permission to do that, and also takes the scariness out of the sport too.
Love, love it, love it. So yeah, you really talk about community, whether it's the partnerships you have in your business and also these very loyal customers that you have that act as your own ambassadors here by spreading the word, and even just your own marketing, like I said, with visual out there wearing your apparel, and then people women are like, I love that. I've got to find out about that. So about partnerships and community building, you're also online, both on Instagram and other platforms and Facebook, but also on LinkedIn, because like I'm quite active on there too and see a lot of the work that you're doing there. So I know also with yourself and the business of putting yourself out there and asking the community for some advice, because this journey of starting a company and building it up, it's not a straight line, it's up and down, and there are trials and tribulations. That I know that from one of your posts, that one of your larger buyers, that it was, how can I put it, was not playing nicely and was not paying you, and you just put it out there to ask the question to your LinkedIn community, and you got some incredible feedback there, and it sounds like that's resolved itself. So can you tell us a bit about that experience and that stress? That's one of the many stresses you have of owning a small company.
Yeah, I think, I think as a smaller brand, and, it's a little bit of the David and Goliath model, when it comes to dealing with, getting placement in larger retail stores. And it's been, great. But it's a lot different than dealing with a pro shop, for example. Lots of different layers and levels, and, the right hand not talking to the left hand and a lot of that. But as you mentioned, we kind of, had been, and sadly, waiting for payment for one of our biggest customers. And after trying for months to call, email, to and really emailing it all the way up the chain. I mean, I kind of was fairly shameless in reaching out to the CEOs of these companies, and even the parent company, to try to get something going, and to get a response. And out of, I'll say, a little bit of frustration, but also I just kind of wanted to know, what do people do? Like, how do you, I don't want to use the word shame, but how do you get these people out of the woodwork to try to get them to respond to you? And I will tell you that I got some great feedback and advice from that LinkedIn post. And when I went out to my network to ask them, like, help, like, what do you do, and when you're not getting paid? And we had some great feedback. I guess this all end the moral, or the end of the story, to make this short, is that the customer saw the post and ended up responding to us. So we
Wow.
didn't have to go through other channels to kind of get this done. They saw the post, they immediately responded, and we ended up, it took a while, but we got paid. But I think, which was great, and absolutely was the objective. I think, and not, well, it wasn't even the objective. It was, probably a better outcome than we could have hoped for, just in terms of, not wanting to take anybody to collections or anything. We just wanted to resolve it. And so we yeah, and we did. And I think the result of it also was just being able to, so many other brands reached out to me that were also customers of this company, and that was great. I mean, to be able to build a community within our own kind of network of other vendors, was also great. And to be able to help them, and to share ideas with them, was great.
Love this. So that's just a great entrepreneurial kind of insight and nugget of wisdom. There is, don't go alone, ask for help.
Hmm.
I know myself starting up, and I ask for help all the time now, but I didn't want to inconvenience people. I didn't know if it was the right thing to do. And people want to help. You kind of put that out there. It shows a little bit of vulnerability also, and that you
Right.
don't have all the answers. And the feedback you had there on LinkedIn, and that's just one of many examples, I'm sure, it just strengthens that community and cultivates trust, and ultimately positively positions your brand also, because you're not actually asking for anything transactional. You're actually asking for people's advice
Right.
and experience on that. So hey, to finish up here, can you provide for people that are watching and that are going to be watching afterwards, because this is the thing, even though we have had about 10 people join us today, and thank you everyone for doing that. Melissa, for the one stepping up and asking, or putting a couple of comments out there, that was amazing. But your experience, not only with KINONA, but even before that as an entrepreneur, especially for women out there, because entrepreneurship is difficult already. And my involvement in the startup world, of knowing still women do not get the same resources it's not even thinking 2024, it would be an even playing field, but there's still so much work to do here. But on a positive note, if there's women out that are watching that are inspired by this, are there a couple of pieces of wisdom or advice that you can give if they're considering to start up something that they're interested and passionate about, but maybe don't know where to go for that first couple of steps?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always important to have, your end goal in mind, and your sight line in mind. And I think a lot of times what, I've encouraged our team to do, and Diane and I have done in terms of our strategic planning sessions and all of that. But even when we started the company, like, what is your ultimate vision for what you're trying to achieve? And so we do a lot of what and there's lots of different terminology for this. Some people call it like backcasting or forecasting, but we write kind of a letter to our investors or our key stakeholders in the company, and we write it 5 years into the future as if the events have already happened, and it helps actualize the practice. So what do we envision for ourselves in, 5 years down the road? And, like, oh, we, got, I'm going to kind of make up some of our prior ones, but oh, we got into Oprah, or we, got this great endorsement, or we achieved X in revenue, and we, got, landed this customer, whatever it was. And it was, some of it was kind of, some of it far-fetched, but it helps create a roadmap for you unintentionally, and it doesn't, you kind of get out of your head a little bit and a little bit more into your heart, and
Hmm.
what is it that you want to achieve as a founder, as an entrepreneur at the end of the day. And it just allows you to just give yourself the space to kind of write it all down and envision this future for your brand and for your business, without getting so into your head, like, oh, we don't have the money to do that, or we can't afford this, or this has got to happen first. You just don't think about all of that yet. Just put the vision out there of in a storytelling kind of format, and kind of write a love letter to your investors or your stakeholders about what it is that you accomplish that year. So we'd be writing out into 2030 right now, and what do we want that brand to be, and where do we want it to, what kind of exposure do we want? And I think it helps kind of ground you a little bit, keeps you like kind of clear guidance and direction, but also allows you to think outside of your head, and to create a brand and a business that you really want.
Wow, love that. Well, that one was so good. I actually had to just put that in chat there. Get out of your head and into your heart. I'm going to steal that one, or at least I'm going to borrow it. I'll give you yeah, I'll pay you some revenue on that one. But get out of your head and into your heart. I love that. So why don't we end on that note there? Because I can keep going and going and going, but I know you got to get back to the business of KINONA, and yeah, just to wrap up here, I will, of course, in the comments below, the uh, the link for KINONA, and also for you, and also our previous podcast episode, which, like I said, I went back and listened to it. I learned something new, as I do every single time. So Tammy, why don't we finish up there? I look forward to seeing you and Diane again at the PGA show in a couple months' time. Should be great.
All right.
Good
Sounds
stuff.
great.
All right. Thanks for joining me on ModGolf Live, and have a great day, and I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Colin.
All right. Bye for now.